today's topic, this is something we talk about in the reset.
Yeah.
And I know it's really boring and you've all heard this a million times, but sleep is the answer to almost everything.
It's so funny. And literally, like with my clients, it's like I had a client who texted me the other week and he was like, oh, I've started even just 15 minutes extra a night. He's like, I just feel so much more rested.
Yes.
And it's one of these things that we forget. It's like, you know, it's like you can feel more rested, you can feel calmer in your life, you can even like lose weight and just feel generally navigate life in an easy way, all to do nothing, literally,
but just sleep.
Yes, who knew?
Yeah,
it's like we know it, but we just don't.
Regulates your appetite, regulates your metabolism. It's when you detoxify, and it's not just your liver, but we detoxify our brain. We heal every organ in the body when we sleep. We heal all our muscles. We de-stress. We'll talk about that today. We empty the stress bucket. It extends our life. I mean, there's no downside. I mean, there is a point at which you can sleep too much, but there's no downside to improving your sleep. And I have so many clients where they say they're really stressed. And I'll say, well, yes, there are stressful things about your job, but how's your sleep? And actually, if we can fix their sleep, they can handle the stress of their job
100%.
so much better. But they often think they're not sleeping because they're stressed. And it's that vicious cycle. They're stressed because they're not sleeping. So today we're going to talk about
there is some of it in that.
How we optimize sleep and how we break that cycle.
Yeah.
And I used to be a major insomniac. So I also became slightly obsessed about this topic. So I'm going to bring a load of tips I've used with my clients, but also things that have really helped me as well.
That's really good. And I will explain a little bit about why the REM sleep part is really important to our brain. And like you said, it's like we can get how we act in the day informs how we sleep, but then how we sleep informs how we act in the day, and how we can sort of get into this little cycle of just misery. And we just don't even, and there's a reason why that I do say this to my clients as well. It's like there's a reason why they use sleep deprivation as a torture method.
Oh, yes.
Because very, very quickly, for want of a better word, things go shit south very, very quickly.
Oh, they do. They do. And I always have so much compassion for people who have young children, or if your children aren't sleeping. And they're trying to, you know, if I have a couple of nights where I don't sleep well, oh my God, I'm so cranky.
Yeah.
But imagine you do like 1 or 2 years of sleep deprivation.
3, 4.
And then you're still carrying on with your job and your relationship and everything. I think we need to give people a lot of latitude if they're not sleeping, or you've got to factor that in. If you're around someone who's not sleeping, try and factor that in when you're responding to them.
Yes.
That it is like someone who's just gone through some like torture or some SAS training, that you've got to give them that latitude. But why don't we start, because I'll obviously talk a lot about the physical, but why don't we start with the brain? Why is sleep so important for the brain? What's happening in our brain when we're sleeping?
So our brain is amazing, and it's literally like start with the obvious. So when we sleep, during the day we have, and we talk a lot about in the reset and with clients, it's like we have the stress bucket in our brain.
Yes.
So every time we have an anxious thought, and it can be small things like I'm going to be late. It can be, or like, what's the dog doing now? The children are feral, whatever it might be. Or it can be those small things, but also the big things like, will my business ever be a success? I feel really stuck. How am I going to ever figure this out? All these thoughts that we have, as far as our brain is concerned, are really actually like happening. So especially if we're ruminating and we're thinking on meetings, difficult conversations, things that we perhaps have to do but don't want to do, all of these things, every time we're thinking about it, it's like it's really happening for our brain, and it all goes into our stress bucket. And throughout the day, our bucket gets quite full. And as our bucket gets more and more full, we tend to get more anxious, maybe a bit depressed, maybe a bit angry, can be a mixture of all of them. And so by the end of the day, when we get there, we often feel quite sort of like on edge, quite anxious, quite overwhelmed. And then that's when we sleep. And that's when the good sleep becomes really important, because when we sleep, what our brain is doing, we have obviously like, and please get into this more, like in my rudimentary brain, light sleep, deep sleep, and you have your REM sleep as well. So the REM sleep is the key bit that really helps your brain, because what you're doing there, it's almost like defragging a computer. We're taking those emotional memories, those things that have like really upset us or annoyed us in the day, and we're rerunning it, and our brain is effectively stripping the emotionality out of that memory. and we're taking that memory from an emotional memory to our logical brain, where we can feel more calm and in control. We're not so emotionally connected. So when people say like time is a healer, and there are really big things in our life that really will take a long time to not even come to terms with, we just have to like try and accommodate them. But what, rather than time being a healer, it's more like REM sleep is a healer.
Yes.
Because our brain is processing those memories overnight. Do you want me to get into what happens when we've got loads in our stress bucket?
Well, let's just pause on that and come on to that, because I think people, when they get sleep obsessed and they start tracking their sleep, which we can talk about as well, they get very obsessed about the deep sleep, because deep sleep is when the body is repairing and healing. And a lot of people are also tracking their sleep for exercise performance. And so they forget the importance of the REM sleep for this kind of de-stressing effect. And we feel it that when we're stressed or things are going on in our life, we start to get very vivid dreams, which is also the REM sleep. And sometimes if I suddenly have a very vivid dream or a stress dream, that's actually a message to me that I'm maybe more stressed than I realise, because my brain's doing more of that REM processing. So I think it's good to understand that there is value in all the different types 100%. Of sleep we have, and understand that what your brain's doing in that moment. And something we'll come on to a bit later is also, how do we make sure that stress bucket doesn't get so full? But absolutely that sleep and that sleeping on it. And that's where I think, I know some people say like don't sleep on an argument, but I also think if you're really upset about something, it can be quite good before you address it with someone to sleep on it. 100%. To take the emotion out of it, and then you can have a much calmer, more considered conversation. And sometimes I've done that. You know what, the next day I woke up and I realised, oh, that wasn't even that big a deal. I was just a bit tired and cranky. And now I've slept on it. I don't even need to raise it.
Exactly.
But I think the sleeping on something and then deciding what you need to do in the next day, that isn't an old wives' tale. Your brain has time to de-emotionalise it, to process it. Also, a lot of our emotion is to do with our brain pulling out of our history filing cabinet. Someone's done something that's upset you. I had it recently because one of my hot buttons is not feeling heard. And someone did something and it made me not feel heard. And my brain brings in the history of every time I've not felt heard. And so you have a stronger reaction. And then you sleep on it. And the next day I was able to bring it up in a super calm way. And I felt fine about it. But if I brought it up right there in the moment, I might have overreacted.
Yes.
So I think that REM sleep is really important and probably quite undervalued.
100%. And it's like people, it just really is important for our well-being. And our REM sleep is limited, which we'll get into in terms of like everything else we have to do when we're asleep. But like having it just really helps us make better decisions and just cope better with life and just feel more like, just more resilient, really, I think.
So do we want to start getting into how we optimize our sleep and get more of that REM sleep? Or is there something else you want to talk about before we kind of get into the solutions on sleep?
I think just to really highlight that if we've got lots in our bucket, because when we're asleep, obviously we have so many things to do. We have to repair our body, grow hair, do all the other things. So our REM sleep is two things to highlight. Our REM sleep is only limited to about 20% of an overall good sleep cycle. And if you've got loads going into your bucket and your stress bucket is full to the brim, you will find there's two real ways. And I do find actually with a lot of clients, it's sometimes both. You will find yourself waking up in the middle of the night because your brain will be like, there's too much going. So if we can wake ourselves up, we can actually, it thinks that by some fallacy that it can reset the timeline and get another 20% REM sleep by doing another 8 hours of sleep, bless it.
Yes.
But our brain will wake us up and you'll know when it's your brain waking you up because you'll just be like, ding, and you'll be switched on. And it's very different from like something falling over in the house or the dog moving. So yeah, you'll either wake up in the night and be wide awake, or I should say, or when you wake up in the morning, you feel really exhausted if you've got lots of things in your bucket. Yes. Because your brain, you're at rest, and you pretty much, other than having like vivid dreams, sometimes you don't know that this process is happening. But your brain it's almost like it's running a marathon. The REM sleep phase is a very labor intensive part of your sleep. And it's like flicking through all these memories and it's trying to sort out, make sure it's filing everything in the right place. And because it's using so much energy, your brain at that time, when you wake up in the morning, if there's a lot in your bucket to get through, you'll feel exhausted.
Yes. Well, and this is, I think, a good point, is that set your brain and body up for success. Don't overload what it has to do. So if you have a day where you eat loads of bad food or you drink too much alcohol, you're giving your liver too much to get processed overnight. And again, if you're going to bed every night really stressed, your stress bucket's too full. So it's thinking about during the day, how do I reduce the amount of work that my brain and body have to do overnight? And things like, I think it's important during the day to have little rest moments, both for your body but for your brain, and to have little moments where you meditate or unwind or just take a few deep breaths, or even write down what you're stressed about and get it out of your system, so that you're doing little emptying the bucket a little bit during the day, rather than just going through your day like a train, however stressful it is, kind of white knuckling it, and then go, well, it'll be fine because I'll just sleep and I'll just collapse at the end of the day. If you're getting to the end of the day and you're kind of collapsing and crashing, your physical and your mental load is too much already.
Exactly. And it's important. So what we do in the day is, if we can, it's limiting what's going in the bucket, so our brain doesn't have so much to do. So shall we talk about, should we break it down? So like things that you can do in the day to reduce what's going on in your bucket.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about how to like do the sleep bit.
Yes. And then, and I also want to talk about obviously the nutrition aspect, because that has a huge impact on sleep as well.
Do you want to lead with that then on day?
Yeah. So let's start with that. So one of the things that really impacts our sleep is actually our blood sugar. And you mentioned there about when people wake up, and sometimes it's stress, but sometimes it's low blood sugar, because our blood sugar is meant to stay within quite a tight range to be healthy. If it's too high, sugar's toxic and kills us. If it's too low, we go into a coma, right? Hypoglycemia. So our body's trying to keep within quite a tight range. So if before bed you have, and it's so easy to kind of have some ice cream after dinner, or you just have a very big carb meal, it pushes your blood sugar up really high. Your body overreacts, produces tons of insulin, because your body's just trying to keep you out of that danger zone. So it's not very subtle. It's just like, oh my God, suck all that sugar into the muscle and the fat, and then it drops. So overnight, it's like a ski slope. You've just gone up and your blood sugar is just dropping. And when it gets below, it's like the hard deck in Top Gun.
I love it.
When
Yeah,
it gets
below the hard deck.
When it gets below the hard deck, you wake up, because your body, to get sugar in your bloodstream, it produces adrenaline to bring sugar out of the cells.
Interesting.
So sometimes when you get that early morning waking, like if you're someone who, this is the kind of insomnia I used to have, I'd wake up at 3 or 4 a.m. I could never get back to sleep, that your blood sugar's dropped. And so your body's produced adrenaline to get the sugar up, but the adrenaline feels like stress, and your brain wakes up, and if it detects stress, it starts thinking, because that's how your brain deals with everything. It starts strategizing. So suddenly you start planning your to-do list or thinking about all the things you have to do with work. But actually the original problem was blood sugar.
Okay.
So one of the really important things to think about is what you're eating during the day. And it's making sure that you don't eat your dinner too late. So it's better to have an earlier dinner around 6 or 7 o'clock. And then if you're having early morning waking, you do a little top up. It's like a dream feed for a baby. Like,
love
just
it.
like little kids, you need a little top up about an hour, 45 minutes before you go to bed. Just something small, a couple of oat cakes with a bit of nut butter, something low glycemic, maybe half a banana with some Greek yogurt, something quite small with a bit of carb, but quite low glycemic. And it's really interesting. Clients can then sleep for a couple more hours.
Love it.
So there's that balance. The other one is, if you have a really big meal before you go to bed, your digestive system has not digested it, because it actually needs 3 hours to work through your digestive system. And so your blood that should go to your liver and your brain to detoxify them is still going to your gut.
Right.
So you're delaying the process of your liver detoxifying, and therefore you wake up feeling all furry-mouthed and horrible. And it's not just that you ate late, it's that your body couldn't detoxify, and it disrupts our sleep. So kind of eating late, really thinking about the kind of meal you're having. And if you're having early morning waking, thinking about that blood sugar regulation. But the other thing is, when we have early morning waking, we then think, well, I'm awake and that's it. But actually, we wake up several times during the night. We wake up after every cycle, but we often just don't remember it. So reminding yourself, it's normal to wake up. When a baby wakes up at 3 a.m., you don't go, well, that's it. Put it in front of the laptop, get it to send some emails, right? Because
love that image.
You're like, how do I get the baby back to sleep? Well, what do? We get on our phone.
Yes.
We look at the blue light. We check the time. We do all sorts of silly things. This morning I actually woke up too early and I did some laundry, but I did go back to bed afterwards. But we just...
You crazy mofo.
We do these crazy things. But actually, if we recognise that it's normal to wake up and we think, how do we get the baby back to sleep? So if you're having early morning waking, you can have a little snack by your bedside, and it works a charm. You can have a little snack. I might have a chamomile tea. We'll talk later about other techniques, but I'll lie on an AcuMat. you might have some sounds you like to listen
Love
to,
it. Yes.
or you might put on a cooling weighted mask. Work out the things that help send you to sleep. And just like a baby, soothe yourself back to sleep. And then you'll get another 90-minute cycle in and you feel fine. It's this mistake of thinking, well, once I'm awake, well, that's terrible and I'm an insomniac. It's just treating it as, oh, I've just woken up from a cycle. How do I get myself gently back into my next cycle? And this is something that's completely saved me, because I went from really only sleeping 5 or 6 hours a night. Now I'm getting a solid 7 to 8 and I'm a different person.
I love that. And it's like you say, it's like if there's a routine like that you will go to bed and do, there's no hard, like if you find you're waking up in the middle of night, say you like put on like a audio, or you put on like some waves or some rain, just put that back on.
Yes.
Because then it's just saying to your brain, it's just like that lovely signal to that your brain, that it's time to sleep again. You're just like it's almost like we're tricky. Our brain thinks that by waking us up it's reset the timeline. Well, then just follow the routine.
But we do this with babies all the time. We know that we're like, okay, story, bath, bed, and it works for us. So create that bedtime routine.
Yes.
So I have a cue. It's almost as soon as I make a chamomile tea, my brain knows it's bedtime. So create that routine. And then one of the reasons I'm a bit sleep deprived at the moment is I've been traveling a lot and I've not been staying at home. And what I've not been great at is then maintaining that routine when I'm traveling.
It's very hard.
But it's, even if it's the time is out, trying to say, well, what are the standard steps I have? So normally I have a bath, but it's been way too hot. But it's like, have a shower, have a cup of tea. I like to do some stretching, but try and consciously create a routine. And if you need to, make it short, make it 10, 15 minutes.
Short
and then
adaptable.
Try wherever you are to do that. And the more you do it, the more you just get to the beginning of that routine and your brain starts powering down, knowing it's ready for bed. And as you said, then if you wake up in the night, you can use the same routine. We need to treat ourselves like children, basically, when it comes to sleep. And as much as possible, control the environment, have the same kind of, have the same bedroom setup, keep it dark, keep it cool. I am one of those people literally has to sleep with an eye mask and earplugs in. I need complete darkness, complete silence. Whatever works for you, we're all different. But then again, when you're traveling, have your creature comforts with you. If you need to take your own pillow with you, do that, or take PJs that you find really relaxing. But when we travel with a child, have you ever seen anyone travel with a baby? Have you seen how much stuff they take with them?
Yeah.
To make sure that baby's
like
okay.
An evacuation.
Yeah, honestly, it's like the car's full and the child is this big. It's like the smaller the child, the more stuff you need. But we actually need to do that for ourselves, and as much as possible, try and create a routine you can stick to wherever you are.
Yes, and I like just thinking about it as well. It's like having like even just like some white noise or something that you play to yourself, bringing a pillow spray, because then you're hitting, like you have with your chamomile tea, and you're hitting that taste. You're telling your brain through taste it's time to sleep. The audio with the sounds, the pillow spray with the smell, it's all giving your brain signals that it's time to sleep again. I have tried it a few times, like when I haven't been able to sleep. It's like getting out of bed, but not like going out of the room or doing anything crazy, but just going even and sitting in the chair or sitting just somewhere else in the room and reading something low key.
Yes. And
then getting back into bed. I also think we do get ourselves into this frenzy. If you're waking up, especially if it's like 3:30, 4, 5, you're like, oh, blubby neck, I've got blubby neck. Who says that? Not me. Fucking hell. There you go. I've got to get up in like an hour's time. I've only got an hour. And if I go to sleep now, and if I don't go to sleep now, then it's only 50 minutes. But even like just if you can lie there and just say to yourself, I'm resting. I'm just resting and I'm healing, because you are still doing yourself good by just resting with your eyes closed, I think.
Yes. I had to learn that, because I used to wake up and then get up and forget that the body needs to just not move. Now, this is where things like an AcuMat are incredible. So an AcuMat is an acupressure mat. They're £20 on Amazon, and they're one of the best things you can buy if you can't sleep well. You can use them before you go to sleep to send you off. And if I wake early, instead of stressing about it, I go, great, I can have half an hour on my AcuMat. And honestly, I lie on it, I fall asleep. You might say, well, now it's great, I can listen for half an hour to my guided visualization or my meditation. So try and tell your brain, oh, this is, sometimes I'll put on a bit of beauty hack. I'll put on my red light face mask.
Love it.
Which feels like I'm on a beach, and a bit of collagen gel. And I'll say, oh my God, I'm going to have half an hour on the beach.
Yes.
And I'll visualize them lying on the beach having a sunbathe. So again, making that into positive time instead of either stressing or getting up, because the body really likes routine. So it likes to get up and get going at the same time every day, which I will admit I'm absolutely atrocious at.
Agreed.
But it's about, because we both run our own businesses, I think when you go to work, one of the good things about going to work was it kept me in a very tight schedule.
Yes.
And because I had to get up insanely early, I had to go to bed insanely early.
Yes.
So I think that's, again, if you're managing your own schedule, you've got to be very careful about which days of the week am I just going to get up at the same time, even if I don't have a meeting or what have you.
Yes, and that it's really hard because there is that obviously school of thought that it's like no matter what day you should go to bed and wake up at the same time. But we're obviously at the weekend, it's like, oh, I need a little bit more rest and that sort of thing.
Oh yes.
You know.
Well, I'm a huge fan of a nap, and the research shows you can actually catch up on sleep.
Love it.
So I will have, if I need to on a Sunday, I'll go on a long run, I'll have a nice big meal, and then I will just have a nap with the dog, and it sets me up for the week. A couple of things I want to talk about, conscious we're almost out of time, supplements and chronotypes.
Yes, I was going to say, do you want to talk about the chronotypes? Please continue.
But first of all, can we just add in some extra top tips on emptying that stress bucket? Because I think that's a really important thing to talk about.
Yes. Okay, so in terms of emptying that stress bucket, I would say it's just like in the day, like trying to keep stuff out of your stress bucket is very important. Stuff you can do to start pre-filtering your bucket. It's not the same as REM sleep, but you can do like some hypnotherapy. You can do some guided like visualization. That space allows your brain space to start pre-filtering bucket. But if we can step it back at like another stage and not put stress in your bucket, easier said than done, I know, that is much more beneficial for you. So even if like during the day you take those mindful moments, because rather than running through your day and having like say 10 hours of stress or whatever it may be, even if you take micro breaks where a minute of breathing, a minute of looking at like the clouds or the trees, a minute talking to a friend, all these things, walking, rather than it being 10 hours of stress, it's now like 9 hours and a half of stress. And we've got half an hour we haven't been loading things into our bucket during the day, which then helps our brain empty things at night.
And it helps your body, because instead of your stress hormones accumulating, you have a little break.
Exercise.
It resets it slightly, and then you put it up and it resets it, so it never gets to the same peak.
It's like we're trickling water into the stress bucket as opposed to getting like a whole big gallon jug and just chucking it in, and like throwing in depth charges.
I love that. Yeah. Bring in some explosives. Yeah, I think we actually should do a whole episode on anxiety.
Yeah, for sure.
Because one of the biggest disruptors to sleep and good sleep is suffering from anxiety. And if you can improve that.
Because actually maybe we need to do a part 2 to this, because as well it's like something where we can really get into what to do is when you get into bed and your brain is literally like, because for most people, if you are running around in the day, partner, kids, job, the first time you have to think and be by yourself is when you get into bed, and your brain goes, great, this is the moment we can start sorting through everything, thinking about tomorrow, all the rest of it.
Well, that's why I do my journaling before bed, because my brain does that too. Okay, I'll do a couple of supplements
chronotypes
now. And let's do a full session on supplements in that conversation about anxiety, because some of the supplements, it's actually just helping you deal with your anxiety. But I would say my top 2 for sleep would be magnesium, because when our cells contract, that's calcium going through the channels, and when they relax, it's magnesium. So magnesium helps every cell in your body relax.
Yes, lovely.
And also when we're stressed, we use up tons of it. So magnesium in the evening before bed, have a really high dose, and chills your body out. So that's it. And Epsom salts in your bath is the same thing. And then the other one I would say is a bit of CBD oil, a bit of hemp tincture. It obviously doesn't have the active cannabis in it, but it does chill you out. And a lot of clients find that just sends them off to sleep really quickly. Nice. So those are my top 2, but we'll do a whole thing on anxiety.
It's interesting, isn't it, when we start like talking about these topics, when there's and sleep is such a people find it a lot, and I think it will be a huge benefit if we come back to it. Okay,
let's finish then with chronotypes.
Yes,
because
you're about to explain why I find it very inconvenient to be at work at 9 a.m. in the morning.
Yes, I am. So one of my big bugbears as a nutritional therapist is when people produce a book or go on social media and come up with a regime that everybody should follow.
Yeah.
And that somehow then you'll all be great and you'll have amazing energy.
It's like the Godsend book, right?
I don't know the Godsend book.
I've just made that. No, I'm saying it's like you bill it as a Godsend.
Yeah, I
like
exactly.
that though, the Godsend book.
I think we should write the Godsend book after the Babbage Bible that's coming next.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I think my dad might have a heart attack if I call it the Bible.
Oh gosh, yes. Okay,
Sorry,
scrub that. So, it's like the 4 a.m. club, or people saying you should start your day in a certain way. But we're all different, which is why the diets that work for each of us is different. Within our lifetimes, it's changing every 7 years anyway.
Yeah.
Our approach to sleep needs to be different. And one of the tools that I think can really help you understand your sleep cycles is the sleep chronotype quiz. Just look up chronotype.
I'll put it in the link.
I'll put it in the link. There we go. Save me spelling it out. And so it helps you understand your kind of sleep patterns. So I'm just going to run through the chronotypes really quickly. The one that I am is the bear. And the bear likes to hibernate. So we are not good first thing in the morning. Do not wake a sleeping bear, right? You've heard
100%,
that.
yeah.
And so we're also very sensitive to the season. So we need a lot more sleep when it's dark. So we're people would take a bit more time to get going in the morning. So again, when I used to have a job where I had to get up really early every day, it wasn't good for me. I need a slower start to my day. But then once I get going, mid-morning, I'm super productive through to early afternoon. Then I have a little bit of an energy dip. But if I recognize that, and instead of powering through, if I take a little break, I'll go and have a cup of tea in the sunshine, I'll have a little bit of downtime, my energy then comes back and I get a second wind. So the bears often get a second wind kind of early evening. So I'll actually often work between 6 and 8 p.m. But then the bear still likes to go to bed relatively early. So then I have to, 8 to 10, I have to unwind quite quickly. Right, then we have the lion. The lion's the opposite to the bear. The lion are the people who are like awake at 5 a.m. and they are just hustling and getting their stuff done. So they all do the 4 a.m. club and go on about how great it is because that suits them, right? So they're most productive between like 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. And that's when they need to get up and get on with things because their energy will then dip over the course of the day and they need to be in bed early so they can struggle a bit with socializing. They're like, why do I need to be up at like 10, 11 p.m.? Whereas I'm actually quite happy to be up late.
Yeah.
So they need to manage their schedule so that the important stuff that needs their energy, they do it early on. So that's the lion. Then you've got the wolf, which is the opposite. The wolf is the night owl, the wolf howling in front of the moon.
Yeah.
So again, they're very slow starters, much slower than the bear. But they're the people who can be really productive between like 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. And I feel bad for them because the wolves, modern day working doesn't really work for them. You're expected to be, at your desk 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. And they're probably only getting going by about 2 p.m. And so they've dragged their way through the morning. And then they might be super creative and work really well in the evening when that's not being recognized. So wolves often do well in work where their company's very flexible about when they do it or working for themselves. And again, they've really got to kind of manage that because they might hear about, I should go to bed between 9 and 10 p.m. They can't.
No.
They won't get to sleep.
Yeah.
And I do believe you shouldn't get into bed unless you're confident you're going to fall asleep within about 5 or 10 minutes. So my brain knows when I'm in bed, I'm going to sleep. There's no lying around. I don't even read a book in bed. I'm just going straight to sleep. So these poor people, if they're getting to bed at 9, 10 p.m., they're like twiddling their thumbs. What am I going to do?
That's me. I'm ready to change my life and pivot and do everything and clear out cupboards at 11 o'clock at night. I'm ready to go.
But that's actually fine. It's recognizing that and going, so when does my sleep routine start? When does my pattern start? How do I make sure I still have one, but it's later? And then I create my day so that I'm not having to be up at 6 or 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And running your own business, you can do that. So I can see you yawning. This topic's sending you to sleep. This is perfect. This is perfect.
So
I've got a wolf who's just sleeping. Don't worry, you have a nap. I'm going to finish the podcast while you just sleep out the last 5 minutes. Okay.
We'll get through it together.
I'm carrying the last few minutes of this. Okay, the last type, you just snooze. The last type is the dolphin.
Yeah.
The poor dolphins, they just don't sleep. They're the ones who wake the most in the night. They're early morning wakers, but they find it hard to get to sleep. They actually, it's sweet they call them dolphins, but they are the people who thrash around in bed. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're like, am I at SeaWorld? And I have to say, I don't recommend, I've done this, don't go out with a dolphin.
Brilliant.
Honestly, because you don't sleep. Imagine a bear and a dolphin. It's like the worst combination because I need to sleep. Would
you say it's worse than a lion and a wolf though? Because this is what I feel like me and my partner is.
Oh, interesting. Is it worse? I don't know. I think they're both a challenge, but I think the worst type, if you're not a dolphin, the worst type to be with is just a dolphin because it's not just early or late. It's all night they wake up. And they, as I said, it's like being at SeaWorld. So they're doing tricks in the night and you're trying to sleep. I feel so bad for dolphins. They find it very hard to stay in a deep sleep. And so they have to be very flexible. And if you're a dolphin, you've got to take it when you can get it. You've got a nap. If you feel tired, whatever you're doing in the evening, you've got your to-do list, you feel tired, you feel yourself enter the sleep window, which, by the way, I feel like you're entering right now. But the sleep window is when you suddenly start to feel tired. And with children, coming back to babies, we know when children enter the sleep window because they rub their eyes,
Oh,
right?
bless them. Yeah, it's so
and,
cute.
and sometimes we do it as well.
Yeah.
If you find yourself rubbing your eyes, we start yawning.
Yeah.
I can see it with you. We get a bit glazed, like the third eyelid comes across, sending you to sleep. When you start entering your sleep window, if you're a dolphin, stop literally whatever you're doing and just go to sleep right there and then.
Okay.
Because that dolphin, and I think also if you're a new mother, do the same thing.
Yes.
Because you need to grab sleep when you can.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the way they get through it. So dolphins have to be very flexible. If they've had a good night's sleep, get loads of stuff done. If you haven't had a good night's sleep, you're going to have to pace yourself and try and have an early night. So a lot of compassion goes out to the dolphins and Julia, who has, I don't know how you got yourself through today's podcast. Feel like we need to get you a latte immediately.
I will go get my latte. I feel like it is that thing though as well. It's that thing if you haven't, because it is really hot, right? And I see it a lot. Like literally when my client, if it's been hot weather, I saw it in the last heat wave, everyone comes in and they're so like they're fucked up from no sleep because it's really hot.
Yes.
And it's like everyone is like more emotional, they feel less resilient, it really is a huge deal, which I think there's a lot of value in having that doing a part 2 and covering it more. I feel like we also should enter the controversial topic of sleeping separately. But I love this.
Goodness.
But yes, we can cover that.
Let's leave that as a cliffhanger to sleep separately from your partner or not.
But it is like in the hot weather, it is hard. So do have like, if you can, like cold drinks to, like you're obviously a nutrition expert, value in having like cold drinks to cool yourself down at night. If you can't have like,
I mean,
aircon obviously is the dream.
Aircon is the dream. I think the thing is, you need to be hydrated during the day. Mm-hmm. Some people just forget and then they drink too much at night. That's actually not great. That wakes you up as well. Mm-hmm. I think, to be honest, having a cool shower or sitting in like a half full cool bath is one of the nicest things you can do to cool yourself down. But it's really about trying to get airflow in because it's the lack of air. Because also if the oxygen gets too low. So airflow in your room. If you've got some windows, maybe you don't have aircon, run a fan so that it's encouraging the flow. Have all the doors and windows open. Get the airflow going through. Even things like, I know it sounds silly, but people sometimes refrigerate their sheets before they go to bed.
I think I like this idea.
So you can put your socks in the fridge.
Yes.
And although I don't love sleeping in socks, but it's just some things like that just to cool down. Again, have an ice cube, have like a nice cold flannel. Think about it when you go to a luxury resort and they bring you the cold flannels and you put them on your neck, because the back of your neck and your wrist is a great place to cool down. So run your wrists under some cold water. But it's really about, if you can get that room temperature to be a reasonable temperature to sleep in. And if you need to, change where you're sleeping. If the upstairs in your house is really hot, you might find, even if it's your sofa, that you're going to sleep better on your sofa downstairs in the cool room. So really, when it's hot weather, don't be afraid to just mix up where you're sleeping. If it's hard to sleep next to another person when it's hot because they're generating heat, sleep in separate rooms while it's too hot. You're absolutely right. And I think also it's the summer months, then we drink more, our sleep's not so good, there's a World Cup going on, emotions get high, and all of that kind of adds up to a very cranky, overheated nation, which is like having a cranky, overheated baby, basically.
100%. And I think that's a really good note to finish on. It's like when you feel like you are depleted, give yourself grace. Just give yourself like a hall pass that it's like, okay, I'm just going to do the best I can to get through the day. At the same time, you've got to be just mindful that other people might be feeling the same. So if someone snaps at you, to be fair, when I get on the road and I know it's hot weather, I will say to myself, I'm like, look, you're slightly cranky. I was like, other people, heat, driving, bad, just let it go.
Yes.
Let it go. And just having that. So
keep your distance from everybody.
Yeah. Just giving yourself grace, but also giving other people grace as well.
Amazing. Well, watch out for sleep part 2. And now I feel like we could do sleep part 3. There's so much to 100%. This. But we hope that's helped you take away the tips that work for you.
Exactly that. And now I've woken up.
Perfect timing. I know. Welcome back, Julia.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you have a nice nap?
I did. I had. Well, you talk about the spa. I had a spa podcast rather than the spa meeting.
Yes.
Like
did you have a micro nap while I was talking to you? I could see that.
Do you know what? It's just like a headache. Anyway, enough about me. we hope that you have enjoyed this, my angels, and it was so lovely to have you here as always. And stay tuned for part 2, part 3, maybe part 4 and 5 for sleep.
There might be one where it's just us asleep on the sofa.
It's like gone a bit Big Brother, you know. We used to, that was a wild time, wasn't it? But yes, take care, my angels. If you have any questions, as always, get in touch with us. And if you could continue to like, share, and subscribe, we would be most appreciative. And we'll see you next week.